Welcome to Community Voices with Ron Holland. I'm Tony Jackson. Most people know me as the Real Money Coach. I'm sitting in for our friend, your friend, Ron. And, just want to send our prayers out to Ron and his family and all that good stuff. And to let you know that Ron will be back in the big seat pretty soon, but I have the honor of filling in for him. Just want to let you know, if you're one of Ron's listeners, that I also have a show called The Real Money Coach Show that airs on Praise 100.9, Charlotte's Inspiration Station at 7:30 on Saturday mornings. It's a financial show where we talk all things money. I also have a live show that airs on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also the Real Money Coach Show. So today we are in election season, and I will tell you what, I've already cast my vote. I went and did the early voting. Listen, y'all need to do early voting. I think it actually ends today, ends on Saturday or something like that. But early voting is pretty awesome. My wife and I went into the voting. There were more workers there than there were people voting. I think we might have been the only two people. So take advantage of it. But if not, we want to encourage you, make sure that you go out and cast your vote. It's so important that we play a part in this political process. There's a reason, people. There's a reason why there's so many efforts to take away our voting rights, right? To make it harder for us to vote. And we see it in states across the country. If your vote wasn't important, they wouldn't be putting so many efforts to try to keep you away from the polls. I'm just be honest with you. If your vote wasn't important, Mama used to say it like this: if you ain't been thought about, if you ain't been talked about, you ain't been thought about, right? So my point is this, that your vote is important, and we want to make sure that you do that. Now, today on the show, I have a wonderful guest. She is actually running for city council in District number 6, I believe, and she'll come and clean some of this up for me here in a second. But she is Stepanie Hand, and I believe I should be putting some respect on that name. I believe it's Dr. Stepanie Hand, because if I'm correct, she holds a BA, master's, and doctorate degree in organizational change, and she is on the line. Stepanie, how are you doing this morning?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this privilege and this opportunity.
Well, the pleasure is all mine. I'm a big proponent of, people casting their votes, doing what they're supposed to do. And I understand that you're running in the 6th district. Where's that district located?
That district is located in the South Park area, Park Road, Sharon Road, Providence Road, Coxwall area, that geographical location, and it ends at the intersection of Highway 51, and it comes all the way back up from Park Road to Park Road Park Shopping Center and over in those areas. So that's in Selwyn and those areas. So naming some of the major streets.
Okay, well, that's a very important. I think that's a very important district for our city, because there's so many businesses, and I'm in the financial services arena, and you have a lot of insurance companies, the mall, and all those type of things. A lot of financial stuff. I would think out in that area, next to being in Uptown, it's probably the number one in terms of financial banks and all that type of stuff located out there. But before we get into all that, you want to take a few minutes and just kind of tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and who you are, and maybe even why you're running.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for this opportunity again. I'm Stepanie Hand, and I'm running for Charlotte City Council District 6 to win it. I hail from a little town on the East Coast. I consider myself an East Coast girl from Morehead City, North Carolina, and ended up living down there. And my father and my mother, my father was a Marine in the United States Marines, and he went to college and decided he was going to forgo college and sign up to be a Marine in the military. his brothers were drafted, so this was in the 60s, and he went to war, and he made a decision, and his decision was to go to a vantage point. And in doing that, in the middle of war, his platoon escaped, and he lost his life. And so I understand service because of my father's service and uncle's service to our great country. So I work hard to understand service and live service. My grandmother, my mother's mother, she worked at a shirt factory for over 40-plus years, and this woman never missed a day at work. And so I understand the value of hard work, and she used to tell us, that we must work hard as children of this family. And so I understand the value of hard work, that in our communities we are called. I think Alma Adams, she didn't coin it, but she says it, that the service we do is the rent we pay to be an American citizen. And I agree with that, is that all of us are called to do that. And so I was a student athlete at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, graduated, and began working in the airport industry at Charlotte Douglas International Airport with Host Marriott Services. Host Marriott Services is a global entity based out of Bethesda, Maryland, and I had the privilege for Host Marriott Service to be the operations manager at the Charlotte Douglas International Airport. And that is the customer experience. When a customer comes through TSA and they go, like Starbucks was one of our brands that we brought, is actually the second airport in the country for Starbucks to be in. Ours was the second. Minneapolis was the first. And Starbucks is a national known organization internationally now. We had Cheers. We had, when Cheers was the show, was Cheers. We have that. We had Burger King. We finally ended up getting Chick-fil-A, because when I was there, Chick-fil-A, of course, doesn't work on Sundays. And so we decided that we weren't going to do the contract, but we now know how valuable Chick-fil-A is, the merchandise that you see. So, I managed over 500 employees with about 150, 200 direct reports. And so we had a good time out there. And when I kind of grew into this, I actually was the general manager at the Little Rock National Airport, where Host Marriott was. And I was able to work with a joint venture partner who happened to be a state senator, Mr. Bill Walker, and he had a business there. And so Host Marriott is a company that believes in allowing ethnic others to have opportunity in entrepreneurships. And I just want to lift up Mr. Bernie Johnson, who was one of the first joint venture partners at the Charlotte Douglas International Airport with Host Marriott. And he's passed on, and his daughter and his wife are still running. They are on Concourse A, where they're doing a magnificent job down there. But in Little Rock, it was fun to turn those operations around and working with the airport commissions and the city leaders and the governmental officials, because they were very active and engaged in Little Rock, Arkansas. And my joint venture partner, Bill Walker, who was a state senator at the time. So it was an amazing, amazing experience, and hundreds of thousands of people that I had to meet throughout the country. So I had a great time, and those skill sets helped me to matriculate into nonprofit and as a clergy in the United Methodist Church, where I help about 100 faith communities in this district to revitalize, rethink what it means to be the church and mission into the world. And so I'm married to my husband, who's a native Charlottean, Walter. They call him Chip Hand Jr., and we have two children, Walter and Ashley. Walter is in college, and Ashley just recently graduated. So that's a little bit about me, my passion, and why am I running? I'm running because I believe that we're in a season of change, and it is time for pragmatic leaders who are coalition builders, who are going to work with the people, all the people of District 6. And I've been that leader all my life as a student athlete, very diverse groups of people I worked with. But I'm passionate about this city. I've been in the city over 30 years, and I love the dynamics. When I came, Mr. Harvey Gantt was the mayor. And
our first black mayor. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And the work that he did with Mr. Hugh McCall and others in the city,
sure.
It didn't matter what your ethnic group is, but what mattered most is how to move this city forward. And I want to be a part of that, is that we are working collaboratively. We don't have to agree on everything. And city council is not a Democrat or a Republican. It definitely is about leadership. And so I want to bring my leadership, my executive level leadership, my leadership in the church, my leadership in the community as an advocate to this seat so that we can move District 6 forward.
Well, it's pretty awesome. And just listening to your background, you know what I look for when I go to Charlotte Douglas Airport. I'll be like, okay, well, do I have time to grab my Starbucks before my flight takes off?
Yes,
so I get that. And go 49ers, right? So we have a wonderful university right here, right in our backyard, and we're really blessed to have that. So you said you were a student athlete. What did you play?
Women's basketball. So, I love basketball. I love sports, but I love basketball, particularly women's basketball. LSU is one of my teams, and USC. Love me some USC.
So I bet you still hit a jumper, right?
Listen, I was on the court about a month ago when it was cooler, and my shot hasn't waned that much. Just a little bit, but not that much.
I love it. Well, when we think about District 6, I mean, and for many people, we say, well, that's old money in Charlotte, right? That's where you have a lot of old money. We go through there, you see the big houses and all those type of things. But when we go to the mall, when I go to the South Park Mall, and I go there because give a shout out to No Grease. I go to No Grease. And, when I go to the mall, I see a lot of us there spending our money in that district. But I don't know that necessarily we've had the representation in that district. So I think this is a great time, right? It's a great time, and glad to know that you're running and that type of thing. So what's your main platform in terms of what do you want the voters to know, what you stand for in terms of when they're going to that voting ballot, why they should cast their vote for Stepanie Hand?
Number one and foremost is that I'm going to be a voice for the people of District 6. I believe that everyone in this community in whom I've engaged with, they said, we want you to hear us, and we want you to be in community. And I pledge to do that, and I will continue to do that. I do that through the United Methodist Church, and I will continue to do that, spread that net even wider. In the areas of what I'm hearing from our communities, we all want safe neighborhoods. Wherever we are, we want safe neighborhoods, we want safe communities, we want safe schools. And so that is a priority of mine, because if you're not safe and feel safe in your community, then you can't really focus on the rest of the things. And so the second thing is strong economic opportunities. To your point, we are a global city. I love sitting at South Park Mall when I'm writing sermons for Sunday, when I'm speaking. I sit in front of the Apple store because Apple really has great Wi-Fi.
Yes.
And as I'm sitting there, if you close your eyes, you hear multifaceted languages as people are going by. You see a vast array of humanity walking in South Park Mall. And so it is an indication that our city is a very global city. We have an international airport that brings in global citizens into our city and into District 6. And so I think economic opportunities for women, for ethnic others, and for new innovative to get Fortune 100 and 500 businesses in District 6, and creating atmosphere in neighborhoods so that we are living in a walkable, rideable, joggable district even more. I think we have to tackle the housing that's affordable. I did a ride along with Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department, and in the ride along, when we went to eat breakfast, I asked the questions, would you live in District 6 or do you live in District 6? And 100% of the gentlemen I was with said no. And they said, well, we can't afford to live in District 6. Well, I think that's a tragedy that our first line people that are running towards danger on our behalf can't afford to live in District 6. And so we've got to figure this affordable housing crises out, because wouldn't it be great if CMPD, if they chose to, could live in any community in District 6 that they chose to. And I also believe in environmental sustainability. at the end of the day, I have relatives who have bad allergies. And so we have to make sure we are caretakers of this earth. That's a biblical stance. I'm a Christian, and so I'll just say that out loud. And so we have to be caretakers of this earth in which we've been inherited, that we've been blessed to have. And so those are the things I would say that the focus based on what the people have shared with me are their greatest concerns.
Well, that's pretty awesome, and thank you for your witness. Right? If you be ashamed of me before men, I'll be ashamed of you before the Father. Right? So we don't hold that back. And one of the things that I often said is that Charlotte doesn't really have a housing problem. What we have is affordable housing. Right? And it's like many other communities across the country, and we shouldn't always want or expect or look for those to build affordable housing in areas that we wouldn't want to live. I do think that's important, and I love your stance on that, because we do need to make housing more affordable. We need people to be able to survive off of a living wage. What is a living wage now? I mean, at one time, and I don't know that $25 an hour is living wage anymore. With the price of housing and inflation and some of those things that we're dealing with. And so, how do you feel about? We talk a little bit about the. One of the things that we talk a lot about is the upper mobility study that came out a few years ago, where Charlotte ranked, 50 out of 50. In terms of if you were born in poverty, that you would move out of poverty in that city. And so to me, sometimes, Charlotte could be the tale of two cities, two economies. How do we create parity so that we all win and we don't have a group of people that are doing really well and then a group of people that are doing really bad? How do we work that movable middle so that there's more parity in our city? That's
a great question, which means we have to have better paying jobs. We have to move away from the minimum. I say COVID. This is the litmus test. Before COVID, minimum wage, we know what it was in the state of North Carolina. But when COVID happened and there was challenges getting employers and employees, what happened was McDonald's was paying $20 an hour just to get people in those spaces and places to serve the customer. So we have to have better paying jobs. But to be quite honest with you, I believe it starts in our school system, where I know when I was in high school, there were carpentry classes, there were electrician classes. And so trade has to get back into our school systems, in my opinion, because it helps you then leap to the front of the line going to a community college. We have one of the greatest community colleges in the region that help to then build that up. There are mentorship programs up there, because when people go through these certification programs from a trade standpoint, some of them come out making $60,000 a year. And I think that's helping to bridge the gap of having better paying jobs, getting the education that everybody's not meant to go to college. I confess. I didn't used to say that, but now I believe that more and more and more. As long as people are getting educated, we don't have to necessarily go through the collegiate pathway of a 4-year degree. We can do 2-year, we can do 1 year, get certifications. So I think those are the beginning stages of upward mobility. I also think that our businesses, Ron Leeper, he used to be a church member at my church, and he started the Save the Seed mentorship program, where men who are business professionals wrap themselves around young men in the community that could get lost in the tracks. And we have to have more mentorships, more opportunities for internship in our public school systems, and starting in middle school and high school, to let people get more exposure of what is available in our society. Some people don't have a clue as to what they want to do in life, but it's about exposure. So how do we expose young people earlier so that they can see pathways to what their potentials are, their giftedness are, and we can help to groom them, to encourage them and inspire them that they can be anything that they put their minds to it. But Oprah Winfrey said this: you got to see it first.
Right.
You got to see what the possibility is.
Absolutely. And that's what I always say is that the vision, one of the worst things that can happen is for our children not to have vision. And, we have to see it. And I don't know what schools are in your district. I don't know if that's Myers Park or which, schools, but I do think it's important. And you talk about the vocational things because AI is not going to replace an electrician, right? I mean, I need somebody to come out and do my wiring. I need, my car fixed and these type of things. But I think it also our idea of what technical training has to shift because there's great opportunities in the computer in the computer world, the megaverse, and some of these type of things that many of our children are very well at in gaming. But we need to help them get to not just being a consumer of the games, but to be on the other side of the industry, to be a creator, to be a programmer, to do these type of things. So I think all that works together. But I love your stance on it. Is that and I too was one that felt like for years. I mean, everyone should get a college education, but everyone's not made for it. It's not cut out for it. But there still ought to be an opportunity to be able to provide for your family and do all these things that we want to do. So
now I'm going to say this to you because you said something that is important. Yeah, it's fun to do some of the things that are out there as far as computers or gaming and things of that nature. But on the other side of that is the developers of those things. I look at North Carolina A&T, one of the largest HBCU in the country. And they produce more engineers, right, in the math and sciences. We need more people in math and sciences that come from all communities, specifically and particularly Black and Brown communities, but they don't know what they don't know. And so as my son is at North Carolina A&T and the things that he's doing and seeing, although he's in economics and finance, we need more people in economics and finance. We need more people in math and sciences because there is a plethora of opportunities in those fields. It's hard. All of it is hard work. But unless children have exposure, they don't know.
They don't know.
Our job is to show them, shine the light on these other opportunities, not to be consumers of product, but to actually be developers of product.
Absolutely. Got to take a quick break right here, and we're going to come back